24 years ago, I made a decision that was going to have a significant impact on my life. I decided to move to New York in pursuit of success. And at that time, in my book, success was a very simple equation. It was a combination of two things: power, the corporate type of power, top down, and money in my bank account. And I think, looking back, that notion of success probably was put in my head or influenced by my dad's education, whom, as far as I can remember, always told me that if you're not number one in life, you're nothing. So fast forward, I'm 23 years old and I moved to New York, and almost naturally I start to work for a bank. Large glass office on Park Avenue. I had the whole outfit, the tie, the suit, the suspenders. I felt I was in Wall Street. But there I discovered a world of politics, power play. And I really realized that most people would spend 50% of the time trying to stab each other in the back. So I kind of played the game a little bit, to be honest. And I must have been good at it, or maybe I was good at helping my clients, because I was promoted twice in 4 years, and by age 27 I became the youngest managing director in a group of 25,000 people. And so at that time I had power, or at least in my life or in my professional life. Unfortunately, I didn't have money, because according to my banker boss, it wasn't what I did that was important, it was my age. So having received my green card, at the time I decided to leave. I took a break. I traveled to Central America for 6 months, figured out what was next. And I came back, and at that point there was that thing that was starting to emerge, to boil. It was called the internet. It was 1996. And so I partnered with a friend of mine, a programmer, me with my marketing background, and we started a company, literally in a storage room on 38th Street. So we repainted, we rewired, we just turned that storage room into an office. And 2.5 years later, we had grown the business, and we had about 22 employees in 500 square feet. So probably about a third the size of this room. And literally, to go from one end of the room to the next, everyone had to stand up. We even had to design what we call Murphy desks, which were desks that would fall back on the wall, so we gained space and we could fit more employees. And so armed with that original setup, we raised money, we raised capital from a number of large businesses, and we grew the business, and we moved to a larger office on Park Avenue, and I made millions, and I was the boss in my own office, and I had, at that point, money and power. But interestingly, happiness, which I thought would ensue from success, wasn't there. And then at that time, about two things happened. The first was in March of 2000, the internet bubble popped. And probably in a matter of 2 or 3 months, we lost about 45% of our client base. And so we took a hit. But we did held firm, and that year we were still in business. We still had 80% organic growth. We even made it for the third year in a row as some of the winners in the Deloitte & Touche New York Technology Fast 50. But unfortunately, that was not the end of it, because a year later, the attacks of 9/11 struck, and that wiped out the rest of our clients that were based downtown. And so I went from millionaire, at least on paper, to broke in a matter of 2 months. I had nothing. And to add to my misery, I was given personal guarantee on some equipment. So with that, my value system was in the dump, and me with it, and I was extremely unhappy. So I went into consulting. I worked really hard for about 1.5 years. I started a new business for a technology entrepreneur out of France, and things picked up. I made some money back. I paid back my debts. I even bought a house in Brazil on the beach, just in case it would blow up over here. I could move over there. And that was great. And then I was like, well, I'm still not really happy, so what can I do? And then I'm like, well, you have to follow your child's dream. And so at that point, I was fed up with technology, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to become a movie producer. And I did. It took me 2 years to produce my first film, a film called Just for Kicks. And I think I did pretty well. I sold it to Studio Canal, Canal Plus in France, made a deal with Viacom over here. Warner, it was released in Japan. It was a big hit. And so I was a movie producer, and I thought, well, great, I'm going to have fame and money and women, and it's going to be fantastic. Happiness was still not there. And so I accelerated. I took a second job, and I became a CEO of an advertising agency on top of my production business. And I literally had no life, but it was great. I was vibrating, every minute of every day. And then in 2010, my father died. And with him, my entire value system went out. I collapsed. For about 3 to 6 months, I didn't want to do anything. And so I took a good look at my life, and I took a step back. And at that point, I realized that it wasn't the success, it was the value system that didn't compute. Success plus, power plus money did not equal happiness. It did not equal success for me. And so I decided to change. So I let go. I let go of the job as the CEO of the advertising agency. I restructured my production business so it would support my lifestyle, a happy lifestyle, and not the other way around. And interestingly, almost 3 years day for day, that's when I met Joelle. Beautiful, intelligent, caring woman. And the funny thing is I've known her all my life. Since I was 13 years old, we come from the same area in Marseille, in my hometown. And she had never looked at me until I switched. I also got rid of my house in Brooklyn, and I moved on a boat, a 42-foot wooden boat, which I spent quite a bit of time fixing. And I call that the School of Happiness, l'école du kiff. I keep producing films and working on technology projects, but I do pick my projects in order so that they make me happy, number one, and number two, for the impact that they have on the world. And that is the defining factor now in my life. Happiness. And the one thought I'd like to leave you with tonight is that success does not create happiness. Happiness is success.